About 2 decades ago, this guy, Nobel economist Prescott, asked a challenging question. Why is it that Latin America does not catch up with the USA? It's an important question, which could be applied to most of Southern Europe, perhaps a lot of Northern Africa, and God knows where else. So it deserves an answer, because behind it is what we have the problems of today. Migrations, lots of Central Americans packing up against the northern Mexican border with the USA, or North Africans throwing themselves to the sea. These are questions that need an answer, because not only we do not want to risk lives, but also because we want to make the best of those once they reach their desired destinations. So we need to know how to manage them. I think that it is in poor management of these countries that we have the problem of productivity. Now, it has been attempted from different angles, institutional ones, human capital, natural resources. I'm focusing on culture, but not the usual way, like, for example, that Latin Americans are risk-averse or that they are too collectivist for their own good. I'm suggesting that we have a difference in culture with the USA, and that this cultural difference leads us to a lower productivity when we are managed as if we were Americans. So I'm arguing for a difference in the fit of management, which produces high productivity in the USA, but lower productivity in Latin America. I may not have the whole solution, but this is a contribution to it. Well, this graph here suggests that the only countries that are doing well are the ones that trust a lot the people they don't already know. Those are the advanced economies. So you may think, well, then the issue is train your people to trust others. Well, quite frankly, that is pretty hard. This is why it hasn't happened up to now. Because I sustain that trust, a generalized trust, the trust on people that you don't already know, is something that is deeply ingrained in the way that we were brought up. And the people that were brought up in America are different from the people that were brought up in Latin America, Spain, and perhaps all of Southern Europe and Northern Africa. And here you see, we come from different places. Most of the people that populate the USA today came from Northern Europe. And most of the people that populate Latin America today came from Southern Europe and Africa. So you see, we have a different upbringing, cultural upbringing, and that is what makes us different. I will show you how this materializes in the stories that we read. Americans, in being Protestants, were nurtured in the Exodus, for example, so there is a goal and a way to get there, to a promised land. And the stories that have made America great are stories that people read since they're children, and they have goals and they have a path to get there, whether it's stories for children, for adolescents, or for adults. There is always a goal and a path to follow. This idea that there is a goal and a path is what made America great. And it took advantage of technologies that were not developed in America, but were adapted to work well there, where there was an adverse relationship between apprentices and masters. And this is what made them adapt a technology originally from Gutenberg movable types to what we now know as the American system of manufacture. Once America found the way to produce at large scale at low costs, they had to learn how to manage very large organizations, and that bit of knowledge came to America from Max Weber through Talcott Parsons. It implied in objective rationality, impersonal management following rules with a strict hierarchy in command. But it was not only a question of learning how to do things, but doing it at very low cost. And this is where the thriftiness of Protestantism gets into the picture, through a layman, Benjamin Franklin. All his aphorisms were also directed to the thriftiness and the use of resources, like time is money. You see, the American culture was focused on getting things done in one particular way and with the thriftiness in use of resources, including time. So this generated a cadre of managers who are always running and very focused, to the point of obsessiveness. Now, as I was saying, we come from different places, different cultures, we read different literature. How could we be the same as Americans and be as good in doing things in the way Americans do them? Yes, Latin Americans come from a different cultural matrix. Catholic instead of Protestant, and that's important, but it was a particular strain of Catholicism, very deeply ingrained and pushed through the Inquisition. We were not to pursue materialistic goals. Our values were medieval ones, with very high goals such as living in an offer for God, and very few worldly pursuits. Those were played down, actually. And this is why we developed a culture of renunciation and detachment. Very high offers of life, including, think of Che Guevara, think of Salvador Allende, and those are the icons that Latin Americans follow. Well, if you don't believe in what I'm saying, just have a closer look at Moby Dick. There's an extreme focus there, killing that white whale, and it's deeply ingrained in the mind of Captain Ahab as if it were ingrained in railways, which was the epitome of the time. But on the other hand, you have the Lusíadas of Camões or Don Quixote of Cervantes, and there are no fixed goals there. The purpose is to do good, and the opportunity to do good is just about anywhere. So we have an errant knight trying to fix the world. It's quite different, isn't it? So coming back to the original question by Prescott, very provocative. We do not catch up with the USA largely because we are being managed as if we were Americans. Now, it's hard to argue, but let me suggest the following. Americans, in being of Germanic origins, trust people as highly as Germanic tribes did. And those were the tribes that separated earliest from Catholicism, from Roman Catholicism. Remember Martin Luther, Calvino, and the rest. So you see, we are different, we come from a different matrix. The Germanic one sustains that the people must leave home early and fend for themselves. They're used to dealing with people they don't already know, and they developed a higher level of trust towards them. On the other hand, Latin Americans are brought up in a clannish culture. People stay within the family for long, and they interact mostly within the family, which in an extended way can be called a clan, and they don't deal with people they don't already know until very late in life. And they developed a very distrusting attitude towards non-clan members. Now, if you're going to apply management systems like that of Max Weber, hiring the best from the market, you are bound to select people to make work teams in a company that don't know each other. You know, these people come from different clans because you've selected just the best on the basis of their CVs. Now, if you put them to work together, they won't work as well. On the other hand, if you select people within a clan, they will trust themselves so highly and collaborate so effectively that they won't need controls. They will be very highly aligned towards a goal that is determined by the leader. Now, this might not sound very democratic, but it doesn't really matter when the purpose is to reach a goal. This is why a samba school is so effective. They want to win a parade, but they select people from within a community. And when it grows high and large, what happens is that the people that join a samba school are invited by the people that are already there. So they know each other, there is an affinity. They hire by affinities, not by competencies. And this is what makes that type of organization so effective. They don't pay the members, but they moonlight for a whole year to achieve a level of production, of output, that is of world class, on the date and time agreed. On the other hand, when those same people work for corporations managed in the modern American way, they may arrive late, check out early, and ask for sick leave when they're not sick. So there you are. We can build further into this together. My presentation was only a gist of my argument. It may be very relevant for the whole of South of Europe. It may be relevant for many African countries and even for some Asian ones. What we need is to study together to develop a system that is a better fit, that offers a better fit to what we want in order to be as productive as we would need to be in order to give a proper standard of life to our people that will not lead them to leave, risking their lives to do so. This is what we are after. Thank you.